Morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another segment of Soul Talk. My name is Emeka, the psychologist, or you can call me the Dark Prophet. So, today, our topic is follow follow mentality. That's what the topic for today is, follow follow mentality. The first time I heard the word follow follow mentality, it was from Fela Kuti's song, Mr. Follow Follow. And so I was wondering, what did he mean by that? What did he mean by that? So it was later it occurred to me what he meant, at least from the song, I got what he meant. Follow follow mentality is where you follow people's ideas and opinions without giving it thought for yourself, without thinking about it or trying to reach a decision. You understand? Like for example, if I want to buy a car now, and I say, okay, which car should I buy? Then someone tells me, wow, buy Toyota, everybody has Toyota. Or buy Honda, everybody in Nigeria drives Honda. And then because of their opinion, I end up buying a Toyota. In other words, I don't give it much thought. I just do what the masses are doing. So that's what follow follow mentality is. It's about you following the crowd in every decision that you make. Sometimes it can be a small decision, sometimes it can even be a big decision, but you just follow the crowd because you feel that the crowd is right. Understand? So you feel the crowd is right, and because you feel they are always right, you go with the crowd. So historically, we African people who have had the follow-follow mentality has always been with us. Our forefathers, they were slaves to their cultures, and what I mean by that is they had a way of life. The native doctor determines issues of spirituality. The king was in charge of ensuring that the people obeyed the rules of the land, and then a man was expected to be the head of the house, provide food, and do manly things, and women were supposed to do the feminine things. So we have always been a follow mentality because we had strong roots in our culture and traditions. And so if you were born then as a man, you don't have to think much about what your role is going to be because because society already has a role for you. You're supposed to get married at a certain time, give birth to children, own properties so you can feed your family and stuff like that. So we always had that follow mentality. And so the women in their own time, they had to give birth, take care of the house and stuff like that. So we're always like that historically. But the problem now came in when Western civilization came about. The emergence of Western civilization meant that our own civilization had to be terminated or extinct. So Western civilization can have its effect on us. So and the emergence of Western civilization ended up abolishing our own way of life, telling us that no, you shouldn't worship this idol, don't worship Shango or Ogun, those are useless gods, and worship this white, blue-eyed, long hair Jesus Christ, that this is the one you should worship, or worship Mary, this white woman with veils and stuff. So that's what the message was, that we should stop with our own way of life. So our culture took the back seat, and then the Western culture took the front seat of our way of life. And so the follow mentality we had for our own way of life was now transferred to the follow mentality we have for Western civilization. And as we know, Western civilization now influenced every area of our life, religion, the way we thought, the way we think, the way we speak, the way we write, every aspect of our life is influenced by Western civilization, And then we started following their own way of life. And the problem now came about, the problem that we are facing now is that we are now following a way of life that is alien to us, that is not grounded in our roots, in the sense that Western civilization is not our civilization. It's the civilization of our colonial masters. And their way of life was supposed to to give them dominance over us. That's what the whole idea was. If you follow their way of life, do things their way, then you accept their superiority over you. That's just basically what it is. If you discard Igbo language for English language, all you're saying is English language is superior. Understand? So their own way of life would now became what we looked up to, and our own way of life was now discarded, like I said, in the process. And so we started following their way of life. And this attitude went on from colonial days till today, because as you can see, in everything we do, we tend to follow white people. Look at our movie industries, look at how our society is set up, look at how we relate with each other, look at everything. And again, another thing you get to notice is there's that ideology which comes from it that everything Western is better than everything African. It's something that everybody just is something that is treated like a fact. If I bring a cloth from Paris and I bring a cloth made from Nigeria, you probably assume the one that's made in Paris is way better than the one made in Nigeria. And people can have their reasons why, maybe if we don't have enough resources or whatever, but the end point is anything foreign is better than anything local. Even the gods, even if you bring Shango and bring Jesus Christ and you bring it together, someone is going to tell you that, oh, Jesus Christ is more powerful than Shango. That's part of Western civilization. So, and these are follow mentality. It costs us, you see, because this ideology that we tend to follow the white culture and the white way of life. The problem is that the white way of life is not conducive to our way of life. Their way of life ends up promoting their dominance over all the races in the world. And our own way of life, which was actually created for us to prosper, which is now in the back seat, and we end up supporting the Western way of life, which only ends up dominating us. Because if you look at our society in Nigeria, even though we see the Western world as a progressive world, and we try to emulate them in all our ways, all our actions, you can see that there seems to be a problem that has been created. When we try to emulate the Western world, what we end up doing is we end up making our case even more complicated. A good example is a Nigerian that went to abroad to study, and he speaks like white people. The phonetics. He speaks like white people. Or let's say he studied here and he learned it, just practice it, because some people do it now and practice it. So what you will notice is he's going to have problems trying to communicate with the local people. If you are with a bus conductor or somebody that maybe gate man or something, he's going to have problems communicating with them. Yes, in the higher up, they may give you a lucrative job because you speak like white people, but there are some problems that will come from that. There are just some problems that he's going to be having, because that way of life, even though we have accepted Western dominion over us, is not the right way of life for us. Okay, so in the second part, I'm going to talk about the effect of this follow mentality. Like, what does it do to us and how does it affect us? And I mean how it affects us negatively, because I believe the follow mentality that we have in Nigeria affects us a lot in a detrimental way. So this is just the part one. So you can share this, love it, like it, tweet it, whatever you want to do with it. But just keep in mind that this follow mentality is something that we have to examine in our culture, because it's a problem and it affects a lot of things we do. Thank you.